These are my grandparents, Frank and Mary, and my father and his father, and this is my brother and I as kids, and this is me with big blue eyes, and this is once I grew into those big blue eyes as an adult. I graduated on an island called Grand Manan. It was just a little thing in the middle of the ocean in New Brunswick, 22 kilometers long and 11 kilometers wide, and pretty much everyone was a fisherman. It had all the typical island extracurriculars and a very wholesome place with beautiful sunsets. I spent a lot of time building and creating things, just coming up with stuff. I would imagine in my head, this is a bed frame I imagined out of driftwood. I was also a piano technician to kind of combine my love of music and my love of carpentry. I would travel in the summers with a missions group doing arts and drama and sharing our testimonies of how the Lord touched our hearts.
In the wintertime, it seemed a little too cold for my taste, so I thought maybe I could do some missions over Christmas somewhere warm. So I had a little fundraiser, and I took a couple flights, and I was on my way to paradise. Although this place was not the typical paradise you would imagine, as people lived in garbage dumps and dire situations in Central America. It was the first time I'd seen third world poverty, and I loved meeting with families and the children and praying for people, but ministry in the garbage dump was hard to see. But if you ever got depressed about it, just take one of these flights, you'll be glad you're alive. I love the kinetic nature of serving children, how it involves your whole body, all of you. And the more I served the children, the more I realized that the everyday things mattered so much, and restoring pieces of their childhood and broken memories, and every little thing meant so much to these kids. But then after a while I realized it was the people who stayed behind once I left that really mattered most. They were the ones that needed the most support. There were some things I didn't miss about Nicaragua, but some things I really did after I left. There was such a freedom about missions in this kind of nation. But most of all, it was the lessons that I had learned from these children and their caretakers I took back with me. After this experience, I went to Nashville to a music school. I always had loved worship and was always musical, so I packed a bag and off I went. It was an interesting school. It was studio work, but it was also combining inner city work and writing and just passion for arts. My heart was really drawn towards children, and the least of these. This is Heidi Baker, probably one of my favorite missionaries. And one of the verses that really just stuck to me was, he will lift his people up from the garbage heap, and he'll sit them with princes. Yes, princes of his own people. And I just couldn't get away from the compassion of God and how he loves children and wants to see families supported. So back to Canada again. But my heart kept burning for these things. I ended up moving out to the West Coast and started at a church out here. But I soon discovered I had a real heart for business. So I moved in with a couple and just started trying things. I was familiar with building and did the landscaping and bought a little truck and learned how to fix it and learned painting and decided, hey, this isn't that hard. Why don't I make a little painting company? So I did. And then I moved into this little tiny pool house, save on expenses. And then I got a roommate, and I thought, hey, you're fun, let's go traveling. So I went to Europe, all over Europe, and discovered just beautiful architecture. And it really sparked something in my heart, my love of missions, with my interest in business and buildings. Just the beauty of building. So, came home with an idea. Our company that I worked with was already doing condo flips, and it was a great time to do it. So we crunched some numbers, and we thought, hey, we can do that too. So I thought, I'll teach my roommate how to build, and buy some tools, and buy a better truck. And then I bought a trailer, and I made a deal with someone. Bought some more tools. But right before our first deal was finalized, I just started feeling so strange. I started to dread at work, and I went home early, sick on a Friday, and then by that Monday, I was in the hospital. I had no idea what happened, and the doctors didn't know. I was hoping for the best. I just felt horrible. So I went home and started another project.
Well, looks like a hurricane just came through, but it's not. We're redoing our pool. It gets worse before it gets better.
So I would just come up with things to keep myself busy because no one could figure out what was wrong with me and why all of a sudden I just gained 50 pounds and just was sick all the time, no matter what I ate, no matter what I did. And so I had good days and bad days, and I would just continue to work on little things here and there. I couldn't keep a consistent job even though I tried. So I made the yard beautiful, and the little house that I lived in made that beautiful. They did test after test still, couldn't find what was wrong with me, so I kept making things beautiful. I would just rip something apart and learn how to make it beautiful. And that's what I did again and again and again. I created a little home for myself. I didn't have any money, so I'd buy used material from other places and rip it apart and recut it and rebuild it into what I needed. That's a walnut kitchen, but still felt terrible on the inside. But then, project after project. Might be hard to believe it now, but this is going to be a beautiful pantry someday. I would just get an idea, and then I would try it out. I learned a lot that way about building. This is the pantry. Finished, and I just tried really hard to do whatever I could with what I had and learn. At least I could learn. The presents are wrapped. Tree is up. Christmas carols in process. It's a tiny Christmas. Working on, of course, another project. Got this tile, 50% off grout, the perfect color, the only one available, was on sale. So just to keep myself busy when I felt lonely, I would continue to make things pretty. I thought, hey, maybe I could go back to work. I was eating really, really well, but I went back on a baseboard project. We were ripping them off of basement, and then ended up in the hospital again. I had no idea why or what was wrong, but I knew it was serious because this time it was bad. So I ended up going home, playing a lot of cards, reading, and some more cards. And my roommate read to me some more. After this, I was low on money, so I went shopping and bought little things. And would find out what those things were worth and buy weird little things, and then I would sell them. Then I started buying books and more books, and then even more books, and packaged them up and sent them away to Amazon and sold those. So I found ways to make money, or I would even find free stuff and flip that. I would buy in bulk health food, and then I thought, hey, why don't I start gardening? So I needed lots of healthy food, so I would build boxes in the driveway, the place that I lived, and make gardens. And I guess it's how I kept myself busy. So I just made gardens and gardens and more gardens and free produce, so it definitely helped because I had to eat super healthy. I would just do project after project when I was feeling okay. In between, I would have good days and I would have bad days, but our projects yielded a lot of fruit, and the gardens looked beautiful, so I continued on to the front yard and made more gardens, and then microgreens, and then enlisted the help of my roommate. And then we started a little garden patch on the farm. Little did I know these guys would be my roommates someday. New half is totally dug out, at least, except for this little patch right here, but
It's getting a little chilly out, so I think I'll head in for the day. But this is it. This is our next little garden plot. In reality, it was a lot of laying and sitting and more sitting. And thank goodness I had a nice roommate who helped me. And, I mean, in the end, our gardens turned out pretty great. But then, all of a sudden, something happened in the world. I'm sure you guys remember it well. This thing called coronavirus came all of a sudden. Living that quarantine life. Right, Suze?
Finally, I can have a vacation.
In the beginning, it was kind of fun to have a break, but after a while, all done.
What are we gonna do now?
So we tried to stay calm and did what the rest of the world did. Made weird bread and more bread and cut our hair short and cut each other's hair short.
Quarantine haircut, how do you feel?
I feel very hopeful.
Really?
Yes.
And for birthdays, we made our own fun.
Party on, party on.
Smack that pinata, smack that pinata, smack that pinata. Kitty bomb, kitty bomb. That bouncy castle, those balloon animals, yeah. Confetti cannons, yeah. That's what we're planning, yeah. That bouncy castle. Let's eat the whole thing. Let's eat the whole thing. Let's eat the whole thing. Open gate.
I kept busy and did more things and started doing treatments and started taking pills and more pills and juicing and eating really well. I had a good attitude about things and I ate everything green and more green things and took little green things and put them on meals and ate everything from the farm garden that we'd made, and I just didn't get better. I used to look like this, and when I came here I looked like this, and all of a sudden I look like this. I just wasn't getting better. No matter what I did, I just felt terrible. Then that Christmas, some tests came back and finally figured out why. See that little black line there? That's poisoning. And that's what I had, mold poisoning. So immediately left our little house, and even though on the outside I tried to keep good spirits, on the inside I was just the sickest I'd ever been in my life, and I felt scary sick. And there was nothing I could do except try and get the mold out of me. So my first task was finding a mold-free place to live in what we call kind of a bit of a rainforest. But I called the church and asked for help. I didn't have family to call, and I figured the church is like family, so I called around a few churches, and well, the 12th church said, sure, we'll help spot you for this place for a few months. And I called up my naturopaths, and I already spent everything I had on naturopaths. Over $10,000. I sold my work trailer, some of my tools, and they worked with me as quickly as possible, trying to teach me what was wrong with me and share with me how I could get better, and give me all these sorts of pills and concoctions to help detox me. But despite all their efforts, I just became sicker and sicker and sicker until I was scary sick. I was becoming dangerously ill with all sorts of strange symptoms that even me, being as tough as I was, just couldn't handle anymore. And I knew I just needed to be home or make a home. It's kind of ironic that the home that I just made was the thing that was killing me. But I figured I could start again. The only thing I knew how to do was build, so I thought, well, I tried the doctors, I tried the church, do what you know. I'll build something, some kind of house, even if it was maybe a tiny house. They're tiny. How long could that take? So it started as an idea and a prayer. I was desperate, and if even God provided a patch of grass, I would build. That's all I could do. And before long, we had our patch of grass. So we pitched a tent, and I guess I would build.
I had originally come to BC to pursue ministry and then business with the goal of philanthropy in mind. It seemed like a strange training ground for that, but I had a patch of grass, and I had hope, and a friend. So I started with that.